When my parents became pregnant with me, I was born at the Richardson Memorial Hospital in Greensboro, North Carolina. I came along at a time when hospitals, not just in North Carolina, but across the United States, were segregated. And so my parents had no choice but to give birth to me at the Richardson Memorial Hospital. I had no idea, nor did my parents know, that when they gave birth to me at the Richardson Memorial Hospital, that many years later, I would return to Cone Health, and specifically to the Moses H. Cone Memorial Hospital as a vice president of marketing and communications. I later became a senior vice president for marketing and communications, the very first senior vice president here at Cone Health, who's African American. And then a few years later, I became the first African American executive vice president and chief marketing and communications officer. So when I share this story with people, I share it because it's a huge example of how far society has come, how far Greensboro, North Carolina has come, and frankly, how far the world of healthcare that I'm privileged to lead in and serve in every day has come. So I proudly share that story because guess what? Everybody has a story. Everybody has an experience that's unique to them. And I just encourage people as they are wrestling with who they are and what's in store for them from a career and life perspective to own their story and to share their story.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to this episode of In a Car with IPR. We are so excited to be here in Greensboro, North Carolina with Dr. Chuck Wallington, who is the Executive Vice President and Chief Marketing and Communications Officer at Cone Health. Hi, Chuck.
Hello, Tina. How are you?
I'm doing very well. He's also one of our wonderful trustees. I have to add that, of course. That's very important. So why don't you tell us a little bit about where we are right now?
So thank you first for being here, Tina. We're in the lobby of the Moses H. Cone Memorial Hospital here in Greensboro. This is our flagship campus. We have 5 hospitals that are part of our Cone Health system, and this is the oldest, and this is our flagship. So this is where we are.
Well, it's very exciting to be here. It's a beautiful space.
Thank you. Thank you.
So why don't maybe you tell us a little bit about Moses Cone, the hospital, because it's a regional. So what exactly sort of does that look like?
Right. So I'll talk to you about Cone Health. So we're a regional healthcare system that provides care in a 5-county area. We're in the middle of the state of North Carolina. So we're in the city of Greensboro, anchored by High Point and Winston-Salem, and we make up the area called the Piedmont Triad. Most folks are probably also familiar with Research Triangle, so that's Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill, that's to the east of us, and then Charlotte's to the southwest of us. And so we anchor the middle of the state and serve a 5-county area.
Nice. Okay, so we also have on the back wall, tell us a little bit about the commitments and values of Cone Health.
Yeah, so some years ago, we came together as an organization and asked folks from the front line all the way up to help us really define who we want to be and why we exist. And so we came up with 3 very, very simple values. And they are, at the end of the day, we're in the business of caring for our patients, caring for each other, and caring for our communities. It's as simple as that. And frankly, Tina, it's as complex as that, given the dynamics of healthcare. So that's what this stands for.
Okay, great. So you've been here since 2011.
Yes.
So maybe give us a little track of your career journey up until then.
So I always wanted to be a newspaper reporter. From a young kid, I wanted to be a newspaper reporter. And so that's what I set my sights on. And that's what I did. So I went to journalism school at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. My first job out of school was in Detroit with the Detroit Free Press. I was there. It is a great paper. I had a summer internship there. I left there and went to Dallas and worked for the Dallas Times-Herald. I was a reporter there for a little over a year, and then came back to North Carolina. Got a call from a headhunter who said, we're looking for an entry-level public relations professional for a Fortune 500 company in Winston-Salem. I interviewed, came back. The company was RJR Nabisco,
yes.
And the rest truly is history. That launched my career into communications and marketing, and I have never looked back. So it started with RJR family of companies, the Nabisco brands, then American Express, and then 13, 14 years ago, I came to Cone Health as Vice President of Marketing and Communications. I was promoted 2 years later to senior vice president, and then in 2019, executive vice president and chief marketing and communications officer.
I love it. I love to see when the marketing and comms
Yes.
are together under one roof.
They're such close cousins that at least in here, it makes sense for us to work together versus working separately.
And one of the things I've always admired about Chuck is I remember when you were getting your Ph.D. and working full time, which is amazing. I love it. So the one question before we go to the next destination is I always like to ask people about their sliding doors moment, like the moment that if you had taken one path, you would have ended up in an extremely different place than you are today. So what was that? Did you have like a sliding doors moment that had like a tremendous impact on your life and that career journey?
Absolutely, because remember, I was set on being a reporter, and had I not been open to taking the phone call from the headhunter about coming to North Carolina, I would be doing something completely different. So that was definitely a sliding door moment for me, being open to other possibilities, even if it wasn't something that I had in store for myself.
I love that. And now look at you.
Very blessed and thankful to be here.
Yes. All right, so I think we're going to head to our next destination. So tell us a little bit about where we are.
So we're where life started for me, Tina. This is what was the Richardson Memorial Hospital. So when my parents found out they were pregnant with me, I couldn't be born in the Cone Health facilities because they were still segregated. And so this is where life started for me, my sister, and thousands of other people who were born during that time. This building is now an apartment complex, but I love the fact that the name still is at the top of it as a nod to the fact that it started as a hospital that served the African American community here in Greensboro.
So because you're in the healthcare space, what role do you see communicators playing to address like health disparities?
So communicators can only communicate what their healthcare systems are doing. So I see the opportunity for healthcare systems to continue to acknowledge the fact that there are disparities in healthcare and to create strategies and plans to address those gaps. That's something that we've been committed to here at Cone Health for a number of years. And in fact, we just made a $150 million commitment to serving not only Southeast Greensboro, but areas throughout the 5-county area that we serve that are in need of healthcare.
And, you know, one thing that we had talked about earlier, I've heard you also speak about is AI and the role that AI plays. And I know your team has done a lot of trainings and learnings in AI. So maybe if you want to talk about that first, and then I'll ask the follow-up question.
Sure. So within the space of communications, we decided early on when AI came out that we wanted to tackle AI before someone came to us on a Monday and said, hey, I was fiddling around with AR over the weekend. I figured out how it applies to marketing and communications. Go do this. We said, no, we're going to be the ones to master that. And so we have. And so we've applied AI in everything that we do, from internal communications to external communications to graphic design to everything that we touch in the space of communications and marketing. It's a tool. And the tool is only as good as those who choose to learn it, use it, and apply it. And so that's what we're doing in the space of marketing and communications.
Interesting. So what about like AI use to help address maybe some of the disparities or learning more about the communities you...
So the beauty of healthcare and the beauty of AI is that it takes data and allows you to understand how the data applies to specific communities and to specific individuals. And so you can apply AI in the space of diagnoses and then treatments that make sense for folks. And so that's an application, something that we're doing in healthcare and have been doing it for a while.
Well, are you ready to go one in the car to warm up and then to the next spot?
I am.
Okay, let's go.
Let's do it.
Okay, so Chuck, tell us a little bit about where we are.
So we're on the campus of North Carolina A&T State University. A&T is the largest historically Black college and university in the United States. We boast over 13,000 students, and we award degrees on the undergraduate, the master's, and the doctoral level. This school is very important to me on a personal level because my wife's a graduate of A&T, our son's a graduate of A&T, and I earned my Ph.D. from A&T in 2021. So we're all proud Aggies.
So you graduated here in 2021 with your Ph.D.
Yes.
And you wrote a book based on your dissertation. So you want to tell us a little bit about that and then what you found?
Sure. So my book is based on the journeys of 30 African American men who've made it to the C-suite. I was inspired to pursue this topic, Tina, because I always wondered, as I was climbing the career ladder, where are the folks who looked like me? And my research discovered that there are a fair number of men who look like me, but we pale in comparison to the majority, right? And so I wanted to understand, for those Black men in particular who've made it to the C-suite, what was their journey like? What challenges did they have? How they overcome those challenges? What were some of the good things about their experiences? And what advice would they offer to folks who are looking to follow in their footsteps? And so that research ended up being my dissertation. I never, Tina, thought I'd be writing a book, though. But I had a committee member, Dr. Rochelle Ford, whom you know, who challenged me at the end and said, Chuck, this research is really good. You've got a book in it. And I remember thinking, the book is the last thing on my mind. All I want to do is defend and graduate. But the long story short is that after I graduated, Rochelle was able to guide me to an editor who was able to help me take the dissertation and get it into a book. So the book's in the marketplace and has been for a little over a year. I'm appreciative of her encouraging me to do that so that the story of these 30 Black men would be out there to encourage other people.
So we're going to put a link to the book at the bottom right here. So do you have like a preview? What were just some of just a top line finding? It would take us like hours to go through it all, I'm sure. But what are some of the things that stuck out to you the most?
So one of the obvious ones that a lot of the men, about half of them had mentors and role models, and the other half did not. But despite the fact that they did not have, many of them didn't have role models, they were able to be successful. So that was one of the outcomes of the book. Another outcome of the book was a desire to make sure that these men do whatever they can for the next generation, right? Whoever that is and whatever that happens to look like. So they're available to be coaches and role models and mentors. Some are funding full 4-year scholarships at colleges and universities to bring along the next generation. So there's definitely a commitment to moving things along. And there's a theme that their story has been challenging to be able to get there, but they're there. And so those stories serve as an example of what you can do if you continue to persevere. They also show it can be done if you have people who are supporting you along the way.
So along those same lines, diversity, equity, inclusion has always been a big topic in our profession, but we've seen some changes recently. Yes. What are sort of your perspectives and what are you seeing on the business side?
So at least in the space of healthcare in our organization, we remain committed to diversity, equity, inclusion. The reason we're able to do that, Tina, is because we've got a board of trustees that's also committed to the work of D&I. And so when our board is committed and we have a CEO who's committed, it's easier for the executive team to remain committed and for everybody else in the organization to understand that this is an imperative for us at a business level. So that's my story. And I acknowledge that's not the story of others who are out there. So I think what folks have to do is to just decide within their organizations what matters. And if diversity, equity, and inclusion, by whatever title you give it, matters, then continue forward. We've talked at an industry level for years.
Yes. Yes, we have.
Feel the lack of representation, and what are we going to do about it? So if at an industry level, we all remain committed to opening doors and giving everybody an opportunity, then we'll continue to make our profession stronger. The minute we say as an industry that no longer matters, then we shut the doors for some really talented people to come along and do the things that you and I have been blessed to do over the course of our career.
Yes. What we've seen, because we do the report for the Diversity Action Alliance, is that we're like entry level, you're coming in, that we do see more people of color in the entry level. Right. But then when you get to sort of the senior mid to executive level, that we are seeing some improvements, but there's still a shortage there. For sure.
And, I remember I did some research on the lack of Black men in the field of public relations. It was published in PR Journal. And part of what I found was exactly that phenomenon. So coming into the field is the easier piece. It's keeping folks there once they're there. And my research pointed out that one of the reasons that we lose men in particular is there's no one who looks like them once they get there. There's no one who takes them in to be that mentor or that coach or that role model. And they finally look up one day and say, this is a bit much. I'm going to go someplace else where I'm going to feel more welcomed and more appreciated. And that's a travesty, if you ask me. I think we as a profession can do better than that. And we need to figure out, how are we going to make sure that we continue to diversify the profession at all levels?
Right.
And make sure that we not only bring people in, but encourage them, inspire them, give them the opportunities along the way so that one day they can be Dr. Tina McCorkindale and do the...
And Dr. Chuck Wallington.
Yeah, I think that's what we have to do.
Yes, I know you're very active in the industry too, which I always appreciate. So, I mean, for me personally, just I see you at all these places, and you're always helping, people who need extra help, whether it's students coming in. So, I just think that's so great about you and the work that you do. So,
I so enjoy doing it. It gives me a reason to get up every day and do the things that I'm blessed to do.
okay, you're ready to go to our next location? All right. All right, Chuck, tell us a little bit about where we are.
Yes, so this statue is in memory of 4 A&T freshmen who had the courage to step out and to stand out and say, I've had enough of being discriminated against. These 4 men marched from the campus of North Carolina A&T on the 1st of February 1960 to downtown Greensboro to a Woolworth's department store. They were dressed in their business attire. They sat down at the lunch counter and demanded to be served, and they were not served. That bold action by these students sparked the sit-in movements, which ended up desegregating lunch counters across the U.S. But it started right here in Greensboro, North Carolina, started by these brave young students. So this statue is in memory and in honor of them.
So IPR, we launched in April of 2024, we launched a group for young professionals called IPR Next, and it's for emerging leaders with 10 years or less experience. I know you do a lot of mentoring of students and mentoring of young professionals. What is some advice that you would give emerging leaders to help them be successful in their careers?
Let me talk first about why I do mentoring and why I'm so willing to help. Along the course of my career, Tina, I've had some really great sponsors and really great role models. I've never had a lot of coaches and mentors, particularly mentors. I've always wanted a mentor. And I decided some years ago to be the person that I didn't really have in my life. And so that's why when someone reaches out to me and says, hey, Chuck, I'd love to spend some time with you, my answer is yes, of course. And I carve out the time to do that because I want to make sure that I'm doing whatever I can to bring along the next generation of professionals. So that's why I'm so involved and so committed to mentoring.
Okay, yes, we have our IPR Next. We have mentorship circles, but our IPR Elevate members, they have also said that some of their mentors are retiring and it's so important to them and they would like some senior leaders as mentors as well. This is our final stop on our tour. Tell us a little bit about where we are.
So we're at the International Civil Rights Center and Museum. This is the former Woolworth store where the A&T 4 marched to and sat down and demanded services. So this building has now become a museum, and I invite you the next time you're here when it's warmer to take a tour. We'll do a tour. But that's where we are now. So it kind of closes out the Greensboro tour and brings into perspective and context some of the things that we've seen since we've been together today.
Oh, neat. That's so neat. Is there anything I have not asked you on our journey that I should have or you would like to say?
There are a number of things, but I'll leave you with this. So the field of public relations is amazing. It gives us a chance to come in and be strategic. It gives us a chance to partner with business folks to get things done. And there remains so much value in the work that we do. And so what I want folks to get from this conversation that we've had is I'm very committed and passionate to this work. I get up and I do it every day and it doesn't feel like work, and it's because I really love doing it and I get to work with some really, really smart people. I also am committed to making sure that I do whatever I can to bring along the next generation of public relations professionals. I want folks of all races, colors, and hues to find their place and space in this profession and to grow and thrive and keep this profession the industry-leading profession that it can be. So that's what I'd love to lead.
I love that. Now I'm going to ask you some fun rapid fire questions.
Okay, let's do it.
Are you ready?
I am.
Okay, so we take this from James Lipton inside the Actors Studio, but my questions are better, so there we go. Okay, if there's somebody, a historical figure or famous person that you would have dinner with, who would it be?
Thurgood Marshall.
Thurgood Marshall.
Thurgood Marshall.
Yes.
First African American
Supreme Court. Yes.
I'd love to understand again what was his journey like. We know the public journey. What was the private journey like? So he's definitely someone I'd love to have a conversation with. I'm going to give you a second person. The second person would be my paternal grandfather, my father's father. I never knew my paternal grandparents. They died before I was born, and I don't know much about the family beyond them. I'd love to have a conversation, understand more about where I came from and how these men and women worked and sacrificed so that my sister and I and so many others would be able to do well and be blessed to have an opportunity to stand here and have conversations with you. So those two people are the two I'd love to talk to.
Oh, I love that. That's the first time I've asked that question, by the way. What a great question. That's great. Yeah. Okay. So what does Dr. Wallington do to unwind and relax?
I do a number of things. So I love to work out. So that keeps me on the sane side. My wife and I love to entertain. And so we love to have folks over to the house. We can do everything from a formal dinner party all the way down to throw something on the grill and everything in between. So I love doing that. It takes me away from what I do during the day. It gives me a chance to interact with people whom I love to spend time with.
Chuck is also a baker. So that's really amazing. So tell me, like, if I was going to come over to be entertained, which I love that, what cake would you make for me?
Well, it would start with whatever Sandra was going to do for the entree. So I try to build my desserts around what he's going to do for the entree. But I love cakes, pound cakes in particular. So I might do a chocolate mocha pound cake or a 5-flavor pound cake with a buttercream frosting. If you're into layer cakes, I could do a coconut layer cake or a German chocolate cake, peach cobbler, key lime pie. If there's a recipe, I can follow.
I'll take the peach cobbler and the coconut cake and then the 5-flavor pound cake.
Let's do it.
All those together.
Let's do it.
All right, music.
Yeah.
What is sort of your favorite bands, music you like to listen to?
So, I grew up as a child of the 60s and 70s, so Motown music still resonates with me today. I'm also a jazz aficionado, so anything that Kenny G does, love Kenny G, but anything in the jazz genre is always really good.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, I love Kenny G's. It's so iconic, him with his text everywhere. Yeah, it's great.
We've seen him a number of times in concert.
Nice.
So good.
Okay, so what about like any books or podcasts that you recommend?
So books.
Besides your own, of course.
Right. So Courtney Vance has written a book called The Invisible Ache. It's about his own personal journey, having lost his father and another family member, and how he tried to deal with that on his own, but realized that he couldn't, ended up seeking counseling and therapy, and recommends it. It's a really great book, I think, for men, because we're taught that we have to be tough and be strong. Mm-hmm. And Courtney's point is you can't, because you're a fragile human being.
Yeah.
It's okay to be with your feelings. It's okay to not be okay. And it's okay to get help along the way. So I read that book not long ago. It's one of my favorites.
Invisible Ache. Check it out. We'll also have it in the screen below. All right, if you were not doing this field, what is another field that you would like to work in?
I love higher education. I have discovered that over the course of the years because I get to guest lecture. I'm invited to guest lecture. And so when I'm in that classroom as a guest lecturer, I feel very much at home. I have a connection with the students, and I'm able to take what the textbooks say and bring it to life because I've experienced it over the course of my years doing what I do. And so if I could do that, that's what I would do. I love teaching on the college level, I think, and to see where that would lead me.
I mean, that's your next gig, easily.
Could be.
Okay, so when we all go to this next life, what would you like God to say as you enter the pearly gates?
I would love for him to say, well done, Chuck. You did the things I asked you to do. You weren't perfect, and that's okay, but you did the things that I asked you to do. So come on here. This is where your heavenly home is going to be. That's what I strive every day for the end to be for me.
Well, I'll just say I've known you for quite a while, and I've always loved working with you, and you're just the best. So I appreciate you taking the time to host us today. This beautiful yet frigidly cold city.
Unexpected.
This is definitely unexpected. But it's so great. Greensboro is such a great place. And thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, we love it. So if you like this episode, please check out our other In a Car with IPRs. Give it a thumbs up and stay tuned for the next one. Thanks, Chuck.
Thank you, Tina. Appreciate you.
You're the best. Oh.
Thank you for watching this episode of In a Car with IPR. Want to make a tax-deductible contribution to support this series and fund research in the profession? Please visit us at instituteforpr.org/contribute.